Welcome back to Talking Story. My name is John Mitten, and it is time for our weekly reader check-in, just to see where we are. I hope you guys had a great reading week last week. Mine was excellent, and it's just that time that we're closing up a week. We're starting our next week. We're going into maybe some new reads, and it's always good to just touch base with each other and see where we are, see what I'm about to be starting, if anybody wants to start it with me. And this coming week is a biggie because I'm going to start the birthday read that you guys all voted on. That's coming up this week because I wanted it to coincide right with my birthday. But a little bit to that later. First, let's start off with what I finished last week. And I finished The Mistress of the Empire by Raymond E. Feist and Janny Wirtz. Now, this is the third of the Empire trilogy, which is the second trilogy of the Rift War saga. Rift War saga is written by Raymond E. Feist, and a little bit of Janny Wirtz sprinkled into this second trilogy just makes all the difference. It just elevates everything. Josh over at Red Fury Books has already gone on record as saying his all-time fantasy list is going to have to change after reading this with the buddy read that we all did at Library of Alexandria with Alan, because this is going to have to go on that list. I absolutely agree. I haven't done my fantasy list yet because I have so much to catch up on, and I knew I would have to probably redo it 4 or 5 times. So I didn't even want to start, didn't even want to try. And this is one of those that absolutely probably will make my list. But I will have to say, I think Book 2 was my favorite out of the overall trilogy. Book 3, for some reasons, my most favorite, but then there's some reasons that just hold it back for me. And I think what happened for me in Book 3 is I absolutely noticed where I didn't notice so much in Book 1 and 2. And I'm guessing here, but my take on it is I noticed where the baton was passed a little bit between the two authors. And that seemed to just be seamless for me. One of the things I do love about this trilogy is that each book can stand on its own. It tells an absolute story in a point in time of this main character's life. Mara, you have her as a young girl. Then in Book 2, you have her young adult. In Book 3, Mistress, you have her in, I wouldn't say later years, but she's getting a little gray. And so each one stands on its own as a story in a point of this woman's life. And this one, the overarching tale is how she's being changed to go against her traditions of her world and maybe make changes to the world and be like a larger-than-life figure in the politics of her world. And the big changes come in this one, and the world gets larger, and a lot of it I absolutely love, and I think it's the best of what the series has to offer, but where I just think I could tell from one author to the next, in the beginning, some of the motivations of the character were different than the end. The end, she so much wants to get away from the traditions of her world. It's a very Asian-influenced world, and everything is their ideas of honor and tradition are very intrinsic into their culture and their ways of life. And all that she is working to change in the second half of the book, she is absolutely guilty of doing herself in the first half of the book. And if that is part of her journey and she has the epiphany somewhere throughout as a character that I myself am guilty and I must distance myself from this behavior, but for me, she never had that epiphany. So it was really like one author was working on one kind of set of things they wanted to get across, and then it switched over, and never between the two did they meet that I felt to give the character that epiphany in that moment that would kind of make it as a whole. So I think what I sensed was, as an author passed the baton to the other, something just slipped through for me in character motivation, and it really stuck with me and it really bothered. And I told Josh when he tweeted this, Josh at Red Fury Books, when he said this is his favorite, I said, you know what? Someday when I can talk to you and not use my fat thumbs to talk back and forth on comments or Twitter, I want to sit down and talk for you, because maybe talking with someone else who's read this book can absolutely make that go away. Because at the beginning of this book, Mara is not at her best. She suffers a loss that really indescribable loss that would take her out of her own head. I can understand why she's not at her best. I can understand why she's not really herself. But still in all, it just bothered me. I just wanted that epiphany. I wanted her to conceptualize and realize that even I myself have caused major damage to other families, other people that are in my clan by being the same type of person that I'm now trying to change and rail against by the second half of this book. And that was the only real sticking point out of 3 books, was that one character motivation. Other than that, top flight fantasy, top flight political fantasy. I'm absolutely this coming week going to do probably like the 5 reasons why you should read this trilogy if you have not read it before. And this is from the 80s. It gets a bad rap of being really tropey, and you can overlook some stuff from the 80s. I'm going to do a video this coming week of probably the top 5 reasons why this is a trilogy you absolutely should not sleep on, and you should do yourself a favor and read the Empire trilogy by Raymond E. Feist and Janny Wirtz. So I wrapped that up this week, and I am deep into the Wick Wire Watch by Jacqueline Hagan. I'm about a little over half. I'll probably wrap this up on Tuesday, I think is what I've targeted. This is one of those self-pub books that I have made a commitment to cover at least 1 a month, hopefully sometimes 2 a month. If I can get to everything this month, it'll be 2. But this is one I picked for my month of birthday reads because I just thought I would enjoy this, and I am 100% right. I am so much enjoying this. I had watched a little bit of an interview with Jacqueline Hagan on Tori's channel. I had watched Alan review this book and Tori review this book. And I didn't watch all of the interview and the reviews because I had decided early on, ooh, that sounds like something I could get into that. And so I kind of, didn't want spoilers, didn't want to know too much. But not only am I getting what I thought I would get, which is an intriguing and very interesting fantasy because it's not in that medieval setting that so many of the fantasies are. It's more of a Victorian gaslight, gas lamp fantasy, like a Holmesian type of feel, Dickensian type of feel, if you will. And I dig that. I love that so much. A little bit of a steampunk flair to it as well. And I thought, oh, that sounds right up my alley. There's a mystery to be solved, and it's not just a medieval take on fantasy, so I'm all in. It's a self-pub pick that I can't wait to get into. But what I'm finding out while reading this, guys, is the themes that this book deals with are incredibly timely and I think incredibly important for everyone to pick this up and read right now. As I'm starting to get further and further into this book, and like I said, I'm a little over half, the act of those in power dehumanizing a group to where they're not taken seriously and they can be marginalized to where they can be mistreated. As we become so polarized as a people that we can watch whatever news station we want, and I'm not saying left, right, center, doesn't matter. We can watch what we want and find what we want to find, and facts are facts that we believe are facts, whether they are facts or not. So a group of government people or a group in power putting facts out there to marginalize another group, and that group being dehumanized, has happened, sadly, in our history over and over and over again. And this is such an interesting take. And it's not only a different setting for fantasy, it's holding up that social mirror. And as you read, it's like, and I already emailed Jacqueline and said, this is just striking me as England and Ireland during the Troubles. And there's just so much going on in this book than just flights of fantasy and fun archetype characters in a different type of fantasy setting. I think there's more important things going on here, and it's so timely and such a great read. And I will be reviewing this probably on Tuesday. If I don't quite get it done by Tuesday, then I'll be doing why you should read that in 5. But coming up this week for sure, I'll have a full review of this. So that's just a little take on what was so surprising. I did not expect to be so enamored with the themes and what was going on with the book as far as it being timely and having something to say to all of us as we live through our reality day to day. And that has surprised me a great deal. And I'll be covering this week. So that just leaves me, once I wrap that up on Tuesday, what am I going to move to? And I'm going to move to what got the most votes on my birthday read contest, and that is book 1 of the Warlord Chronicles by Bernard Cornwell, The Winter King. I cannot wait to start this. I love Arthurian stories. Just a soft spot for me. So I know I'm going to love this read, and I wasn't sure if it was just like a historical take on Arthur, or if it did have a little bit of fantasy. And Chaz over at Bookish Chaz was quick to let me know that, a little bit of mysticism, a little bit of, some druids here or there, because you got Merlin. But basically like a hardcore historical take on the character of Arthur and that time. So cannot wait to get to that, and it will be this week. So that's kind of all the reading, guys. I went a bit over what I was watching. I did check out the first episode of The Changeling based on Victor LaValle's The Changeling, which I got into a little bit deeper last week that I was looking forward to. I've only watched one episode, so I really don't want to come right out and say what I feel, but I was somewhat disappointed, and I know Mike over on Mike's channel has just done a big thing about being so reverent or sticking to the source material. If you're going to do an adaptation, like, that's important. You get someone that loves the source material and kind of sticks to it. And I think sometimes that can be such a double-edged sword, because for me, this is almost too faithful. Beat for beat, it was very, very faithful to the beginning of the book, such that in print, I find that a multi-generational family story told in a non-linear fashion, jumping back and forth from sections of that family as they move through generations, works on the page, and it can be very clear about where we are. When you're jumping back and forth like that in film, it can just start to feel a little bit choppy and a little bit, I can't grasp onto anything. I can't attach myself to characters because we're moving through different sets of characters in the generations of this family a little bit too quickly. For me, the show worked at its best when the camera was able to linger on certain members of this family in a certain time for longer. So I'm just wondering if they maybe could have made it more linear. They maybe could have done a little bit different for the medium of the camera, as opposed to being so faithful. And I'm gonna keep watching. I absolutely probably will watch episode 2 and 3 this week. But it's just, not quite the magic I was hoping for. But it could become, I'm only 1 hour in, so we will see. That's my take on that. I'm just about to finish up Justified. I think I have one more episode to go. I miss the Kentucky Holler when we're talking about Raylan. I miss those quirky characters. It's Raylan Givens, but it's in the mean streets of Detroit, and we don't have Dewey Crow. And if we don't have Dewey Crow and we don't have Boyd Crowder, is it really Justified? It's a little bit too straight of a crime drama, and I miss those quirky characters, so it's not working for me the way the earlier Justifieds did. I'm trying to think of what else I got going on. The Winning Time, I think it's called, on HBO. I'm enjoying that a great deal. That's kind of all for what I'm watching at the moment, guys. Can't think of anything else. It is, I think, opening weekend. I'm going to check out my Dallas Cowboys versus the New York Football Giants tonight. I'm going to see how they look this year. And I have been a Cowboy fan all my life, which means for the past decade or so, it's been a pretty sad time. But we will see. Every year, hope springs eternal. So we'll see what happens there. And no matter what happens, the Spurs are coming right after that. And I will love my San Antonio Spurs. Doesn't matter to me how many games they win or how many games they lose. I don't care. I'm still going to love my Spurs and watch them. The Cowboys, I'm getting to where I can almost take them or leave them. But I'm going to take them tonight. It's the start of the season. I'm hopeful. We're going to see what happens. Drop something down in that comment section for me. Let me know what you guys are hoping for the new NFL season. If you care, let me know what you're reading, what you're watching. If you did check out Changeling, let me know if you felt the same way. If you've gotten a little bit further ahead than I have so far, just watching episode 1, let me know what to expect. Make some recommendations about what I should be watching that I'm not. I would love to have that come my way. Thank you so much for tuning in one more time, checking in with me at the end of the week. We got a big week coming up. I can't wait to talk to you full length about Mistress of the Empire and Wick Watch. And I know soon, I hope soon this month, we're going to have our first author interview with Michael Miller. So a lot of exciting things coming your way. Thank you so much. And thank you for leaving your comments. I love comments. I'll get back to absolutely everybody. Thanks so much for joining me. My name is John Minton, and this has been Talking Story, the Weekly Reader Check-In.